Jake Mitchell crouched behind a broken rock wall, his rifle ready. The red dust of Xerion Prime covered everything around him. 3 years of war had turned this once green planet into a wasteland. Dead trees stuck up from the ground like broken fingers. The sky was always gray now. "Stay low," Jake whispered to his squad. "We don't know what's out here." Jake was 28 years old and had been fighting the Zephyrians for 2 years. He came from a small farm in Montana, where he learned to fix broken things and help hurt animals. War was not what he wanted, but someone had to protect Earth's colonies. The Zephyrians were strange beings. Their skin was clear like glass and light moved through their bodies. They flew ships that looked like giant crystals. Nobody knew why they attacked human settlements. They just came one day and started destroying everything. Jake's squad moved, carefully through the canyon. Rocks had fallen from the walls, making it hard to walk. The air smelled of smoke and metal. Suddenly, Private Ben Adams pointed ahead. "Sir, look there." A Zephyrian ship lay crashed against the canyon wall. It was smaller than the warships Jake had seen before. The crystal surface was cracked and pieces lay scattered on the ground. Strange blue light flickered inside. "Could be a trap," said Sergeant Mary Johnson. She was older than Jake and had seen more battles. Jake studied the wreck through his binoculars. "I don't see any movement. Let's check it out, but be ready for anything." Lieutenant Amy Foster's voice came through Jake's radio. "Team Charlie, what's your status?" "Found a downed enemy ship," Jake reported. "Investigating now. Be careful. Command says there's been strange activity in your area." The squad moved closer to the wreck. The ship was about the size of a small house. Its crystal walls were thick, but Jake could see inside through the cracks. Something moved in there. "I see someone," whispered Ben. "Is it alive?" Jake looked closer. A Zephyrian figure lay trapped under a fallen beam inside the ship. The being's body glowed weakly with blue and white light, but the light was fading. "It's hurt bad," Jake said. "Probably dying." "Good," said Mary. "One less enemy to worry about." But Jake felt something twist in his stomach. He had seen many enemies die in this war. Usually it did not bother him much. They were trying to kill humans after all. But something was different about this one. The trapped Zephyrian was smaller than the soldiers Jake had fought before. Its light patterns were softer, almost like music made of color. As Jake watched, the being lifted its head and looked right at him through the crack in the crystal wall. Their eyes met. The Zephyrian's eyes were large and silver like mirrors. Jake saw pain there, but also something else. Fear, maybe. Or sadness. "Sir, we should go," said Ben. "If there are more of them around." Jake could not stop looking at the trapped being. It tried to lift the beam off itself, but it was too weak. Blue liquid ran from wounds on its arms and chest. Jake knew that was Zephyrian blood. "Jake," Mary said, "what are you thinking?" Jake was thinking about a dog he found when he was 10 years old. The dog had been hit by a car and left on the road. His father said they should leave it alone, that it would die anyway. But Jake could not walk away. He carried the dog home and helped it heal. That dog became his best friend for 12 years. "I'm going in there," Jake said. "What?" Mary grabbed his arm. "That's crazy. It's the enemy." "It's hurt," Jake said simply. "So what? They've killed thousands of our people." Jake looked at his squad. They were good soldiers and good people, but they had seen too much war. It made them hard inside. Jake understood that. War did that to everyone eventually. "Maybe," Jake said. "But this one isn't killing anyone right now." He pulled free from Mary's grip and walked to the ship. Finding a way inside was not hard. The crash had torn a hole in the crystal wall just big enough for a person. The inside of the ship was strange. Everything curved and flowed like it had grown instead of being built. Soft light came from the walls themselves. The air smelled like flowers and ozone. The Zephyrian lay under a beam that had fallen from the ceiling. Jake could see it was female, though he was not sure how he knew that. She wore robes that looked like they were made of liquid silver. Her breathing was shallow and fast. When Jake got closer, she opened her eyes again. She tried to move away from him, but the beam held her down. She said something in her own language. The words sounded like singing. "Easy," Jake said softly, the same way he talked to hurt animals. "I'm not going to hurt you." Jake set down his rifle and examined the beam. It was made of the same crystal material as the ship, but it was heavy. He would need both hands to lift it. The Zephyrian watched him with those silver eyes. She said something else, still in her language, but quieter now. Jake got a good grip on the beam and lifted. His muscles strained, but the beam moved up just enough. The Zephyrian pulled herself free and crawled away from him. She was badly hurt. The blue blood came from several deep cuts. Her left arm bent at a wrong angle, but she was alive. Jake pulled out his medical kit. It was designed for humans, but maybe some of it would help. He had antiseptic, bandages, and pain medicine. The Zephyrian shook her head when she saw the kit. She pointed to herself and made a negative gesture with her hand. "It might not work on you," Jake said, "but it's better than nothing." He opened the antiseptic and showed it to her. She watched as he cleaned one of his own small cuts to show her what it did. After a moment, she nodded. Jake cleaned her wounds as gently as he could. The antiseptic seemed to work. The bleeding slowed down. He wrapped bandages around the worst cuts. The Zephyrian's light grew a little brighter. She said something that sounded like "thank you" in any language. Jake smiled. "You're welcome." His radio crackled. "Jake, what's taking so long?" Mary's voice sounded worried. "Coming out now," Jake said. He looked at the Zephyrian one more time. She was sitting up now, leaning against the ship's wall. Her silver eyes followed him as he moved toward the exit. At the hole in the wall, Jake stopped. He pulled out a water bottle and an energy bar from his pack. He set them down where she could reach them. "I hope you make it," he said. The Zephyrian tilted her head like she was trying to understand. Then she pressed her hand to her chest and said one word very clearly. "Lyrillith." Jake nodded. "Jake," he said, pointing to himself. She repeated his name, and somehow it sounded beautiful in her voice. Outside, his squad was waiting. They looked at him like he had lost his mind. "You were in there for 20 minutes, Ben said. "Is it dead?" asked Mary. Jake picked up his rifle. "No, she's alive." He called Lieutenant Foster on the radio. "We need an evac team. I found a wounded enemy who needs medical attention." The radio was quiet for a long moment. Then Foster said, "Come again?" "I said we need an evac team." "For the enemy?" "Yes, ma'am." Another pause. "Jake, are you feeling okay?" Jake looked back at the crashed ship. Through the crack he could see Lyrillith's soft light still glowing. "I'm fine," he said. "I just did what anyone should do." But as his squad started back toward base, Jake wondered if he had done the right thing. The war was not over. This Zephyrian might recover and fight against humans again. She might kill his friends. Still, when Jake thought about those silver eyes looking at him with trust instead of hate, he knew he could not have walked away. He did not know that this one simple act of kindness would change everything. He did not know that Queen Lyrillith would remember this moment for the rest of her very long life, and he certainly did not know what would happen next. 3 weeks later, Jake sat in a small white room on Europa Station. Outside the window, he could see Jupiter's great red spot spinning slowly. The medical station orbited the ice moon Europa, far from any fighting. Jake was in trouble. "You broke about 15 different rules," Admiral Kate Murphy said. She sat across from him at a metal table. Her gray hair was pulled back tight, and her face was serious. "You helped an enemy soldier. You called for an evac without permission. You put your squad at risk." "Yes, ma'am," Jake said. "Why?" Jake had been asked this question many times in the past 3 weeks, by officers, by doctors, by the military police. He always gave the same answer. "She was hurt. I couldn't just leave her there." Admiral Murphy studied him. The Zephyrians have killed over 50,000 humans, Jake. They've destroyed 12 colonies. Why help one of them? Jake thought about this. Because she wasn't trying to kill anyone right then. She was just hurt and scared. The Admiral was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "The alien is awake now. She wants to see you." This surprised Jake. She does? Dr. Peter Gray has been studying her for weeks. She learns English very fast. Yesterday she asked for the kind human who helped Lyrolith. That's you, I think. Jake nodded. Can I see her? That's why I'm here. But first you need to know something. Admiral Murphy's face got more serious. Dr. Gray found something strange when he examined her. What kind of strange? She's pregnant. Jake felt his mouth fall open. What? 3 weeks pregnant? Which means it happened around the time you found her. Jake's mind went blank. But that's impossible. We're different species. I never even touched her, not like that. Dr. Gray says it should be impossible too, but the tests don't lie. The baby has both human and Zephyrian DNA. Jake stood up fast, his chair scraping on the floor. You think No, it wasn't like that at all. Sit down, Jake. Admiral Murphy's voice was calm. Nobody thinks you did anything wrong, but we need to understand what happened. Jake sat back down, his hands shaking a little. I don't understand any of this. Neither do we. That's why Dr. Gray wants to study both of you, and why the alien wants to see you. 20 minutes later, Jake walked into the medical wing. The hallways were bright and clean. Everything smelled like soap and medicine. Guards stood outside room 247. Inside, Lyrolith sat by the window looking out at space. She wore a simple blue hospital gown. Her skin still glowed softly, but the light was different now. Warmer somehow. When she saw Jake, she smiled. It was a strange sight. Zephyrian faces were not built quite like human faces, but he could tell she was happy. Hello, Jake, she said. Her English was good, but her voice still sounded like singing. Hi, Jake said. He felt awkward, like a teenager on a first date. How are you feeling? Much better, thank you. Your doctors are very skilled. She gestured to a chair next to hers. Please sit. Jake sat down. Up close, he could see that Lyrolith was beautiful in an alien way. Her silver eyes caught the light like gems. Her movements were graceful, like dancing. They tell me you are in trouble because you helped me, she said. A little trouble, nothing I can't handle. She looked sad. I am sorry, I did not want to cause problems for you. It's not your fault, Jake said. I made my own choice. They sat quietly for a moment, looking out at Jupiter. Then Lyrolith said, They told you about the baby. Jake felt his face get hot. Yeah, but I don't understand how... Your Dr. Gray explained it to me, Lyrolith said. My people have an old ability. When we meet someone who shows us true kindness, our bodies can adapt, create new life with that person. But we never... Jake stopped, embarrassed. Lyrolith's glow got a little brighter, and Jake realized she was embarrassed too. Not that way, no. But you touched my wounds to help me. You gave me water. You were gentle and kind when you could have left me to die. She put her hand on her stomach. Somehow that was enough. Jake stared at her. This is crazy. Yes, she agreed. It has not happened to my people in over 1,000 years. The old stories say it only works when someone shows perfect kindness to a stranger. I'm not perfect, Jake said quickly. Lyrolith smiled again. You saved an enemy's life when you gained nothing from it. You risked punishment to help someone you had never met. That is perfect kindness, Jake Mitchell. Before Jake could answer, the door opened. Dr. Peter Gray came in carrying a tablet computer. He was a thin man with messy brown hair and thick glasses. Good, you're both here, he said. I have some test results to discuss. Dr. Gray sat down, across from them. The baby is healthy and growing normally, but it's unlike anything I've ever seen. Human DNA, Zephyrian DNA, but combined in ways that shouldn't work. What does that mean? Jake asked. It means this child will be something new. Maybe the first of a new kind of being. Dr. Gray looked excited, like he had discovered something. Wonderful. The baby will have human emotions and creativity, but also Zephyrian psychic abilities and long life. Lyrelith put her hand on her stomach again. How long do Zephyrians live? Jake asked. About 800 years, Dr. Gray said, and they can communicate with their minds, not just words. Jake felt dizzy. So this baby will live for centuries and read minds? Probably, Dr. Gray said. Maybe more abilities we don't know about. Yet, the door opened again. This time Admiral Murphy came in with another officer Jake didn't recognize. Sorry to interrupt, the Admiral said, but we have a problem. What kind of problem? Dr. Gray asked. The other officer, a woman with short black hair, spoke up. I'm Commander Lisa Wang, Intelligence Division. Someone leaked the story about the pregnancy to the news networks. Jake felt his stomach drop. Leaked it? It's all over Earth's news channels, Commander Wang said, and it's spreading to other colonies. People are calling Jake either a hero or a traitor. Admiral Murphy looked tired. It gets worse. The Zephyrians know too. They're sending a fleet to get their queen back. Queen? Jake looked at Lyrelith. You're a queen? Lyrelith nodded slowly. Queen Lyrelith of the Royal House of Crystallis. I was flying alone when your people shot down my ship. Why didn't you tell me? Would it have mattered? She asked. Would you have helped me less? Or more? Jake thought about this. It wouldn't have mattered at all. That is why I didn't tell you. Commander Wang cleared her throat. The political situation is getting bad. Half of Earth wants to use this pregnancy as proof that we can make peace with the Zephyrians. The other half wants to destroy the baby before it's born. They want to kill the baby? Jake stood up, angry. It's an innocent child. Some people are scared, Admiral Murphy said. They think this baby might be a weapon somehow. Lyrelith's glow got brighter, and Jake felt a strange warmth in his mind. It was like hearing her thoughts. Don't let them hurt our child, her voice said in his head. Jake looked at her in shock. Did you just speak in your mind? Yes. The baby is creating a bond between us. Her real voice was soft. I can feel your emotions too, Jake. You care about this child already. She was right. Even though Jake had never planned to be a father, especially not like this, he already felt protective of the baby. It was his child, no matter how strange the situation was. What do we do? He asked. Admiral Murphy and Commander Wang looked at each other. Then the Admiral said, For now, you both stay here. This medical station is the safest place in human space. We have guards and the best doctors. But the Zephyrian fleet, Doctor. Gray started to say, We'll take weeks to get here, Commander Wang finished. We have time to figure this out. After the officers left, Jake and Lyrelith sat alone again. The weight of everything was starting to hit him. He was going to be a father. The baby would be part human, part alien. Two species were probably going to fight over it. I'm scared, Jake said quietly. Lyrelith reached out and took his hand. Her skin was warm and smooth. So am I. But we will protect our child together. Jake squeezed her hand. Yeah, we will. Outside the window, Jupiter continued its slow rotation. Neither Jake nor Lyrelith knew that their simple conversation was being recorded. They didn't know that General Ron Hayes, the hardline military leader, was already planning to take the baby away from them. And they had no idea that in the Zephyrian Empire, war leader Kethmore was preparing the largest attack fleet in history. The pregnancy that started with one act of kindness was about to shake the entire galaxy. Jake looked at Lyrelith's glowing face and wondered what kind of world their child would grow up in. He hoped it would be better than the one they lived in now. He still just wanted to help, but helping was getting more complicated every day. 2 months had passed since the news broke. Jake sat in the station's garden watching Lyrelith tend to the earth flowers he had brought her. Her belly was getting bigger now, and her glow had changed to soft gold and silver patterns. The garden was the only place on Europa Station that felt peaceful. Plants from Earth grew next to strange crystal formations that Lyrolith had asked Dr. Gray to make for her. The mix looked odd, but beautiful. The roses are learning to grow in low gravity, Lyrolith said, touching a red flower gently. They are stronger than they look. Jake smiled. Like you? She looked at him with those silver eyes. Over the past 2 months, Jake had learned to read the small changes in her expression. Right now, she was worried about something. What's wrong? He asked. Dr. Gray wants to see us. He says he has important news about the baby. They walked to the medical lab together. Jake had learned that Lyrolith moved differently than humans. She seemed to float a little with each step. Her people had evolved on a planet with lighter gravity than Earth. Dr. Gray was waiting for them with a large screen showing colored pictures. He looked excited and nervous at the same time. I've been studying the baby's development, he said. The results are incredible. On the screen, Jake could see what looked like a tiny person inside Lyrolith. But there were strange glowing lines through the baby's body. Those lines are psychic pathways, Dr. Gray explained. The baby will be able to connect minds across great distances, maybe even across space itself. What does that mean? Jake asked. It means your child might be able to talk to both humans and Zephyrians at the same time. Bring them together in ways we never imagined. Lyrolith put her hand on her belly. A bridge between our peoples. Exactly. Dr. Gray pulled up more pictures. But that's not all. The baby's brain is developing structures we've never seen. It might be able to understand languages instantly, solve complex problems, even predict future events. Jake felt overwhelmed. You're saying our baby will be some kind of super being? I'm saying your baby will be something new, the first of a new kind of life. Dr. Gray paused. But that's what scares people. Before anyone could respond, alarms started blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the hallway outside. Commander Lisa Wang's voice came over the speakers. All personnel to battle stations. Zephyrian fleet detected. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. Jake felt his heart start racing. They found us. 20 ships, Dr. Gray said, reading from his computer tablet. The largest Zephyrian force ever seen. Lyrolith's glow dimmed with worry. War leader Kethmore. He leads the most aggressive faction of my people. He will want to take me back to Chrysalis. And the baby, Jake asked. He believes mixing our species is contamination. He will want to fix me. Jake didn't need to ask what that meant. We won't let that happen. Admiral Murphy's voice came over the speakers next. Jake Mitchell and Queen Lyrolith. Report to Command Center immediately. The command center was busy with officers running between computer stations. Admiral Murphy stood at the center, watching a big screen that showed the approaching Zephyrian fleet. Their crystal ships looked beautiful and deadly against the black space. Queen Lyrolith, the admiral said when they arrived. We've been trying to communicate with the fleet. They won't respond to any of our messages. Kethmore does not believe in talking to humans, Lyrolith said sadly. He thinks you are animals that learn to use machines. General Ron Hayes stepped forward. Jake had met him once before and didn't like him. The general had cold eyes and always talked about destroying enemies. Then we fight, General Hayes said. We have 12 ships defending this station. 12 against 20, Admiral Murphy said. Not good odds. We could evacuate Jake and the Queen, Commander Wang suggested. Get them away from here before the fighting starts. No, Jake said firmly. If we run now, this will never end. There has to be another way. Lyrolith was quiet, her eyes closed, and her glow very dim. Everyone watched her, waiting. Finally, she opened her eyes. There might be, but it is very dangerous. What are you thinking? Admiral Murphy asked. My people have old traditions about pregnancy. If I can reach the fleet's mind speakers, I can tell them about the baby's true nature. Some of them might Listen. General Hayes shook his head. You want to trust aliens who came here to kill us? Some of my people are not like Kethmore, Lyrelith said. High Counselor Threndal leads the peace faction. If he is with the fleet, he might be able to stop the attack. Jake took her hand. What's the dangerous part? Using psychic powers while pregnant is risky. The baby is already creating mental connections. If I try to reach across space, I might hurt both of us. Then we don't do it, Jake said immediately. Jake. Lyrelith's voice was gentle but firm. If we don't try, many people will die today. Humans and Zephyrians. Our child will be born into a galaxy at war. Admiral Murphy studied them both. Can your psychic abilities reach that far? Normally, no. But the baby makes me stronger. I can feel its power already. Lyrelith looked at Jake. I will need you with me. Our connection through the baby will help me focus. I'll do whatever you need, Jake said. 1 hour later, Jake and Lyrelith sat in a quiet room connected to the station's main communications array. Dr. Gray had attached sensors to Lyrelith's head and belly to monitor the baby during the attempt. Remember, Dr. Gray said, if anything goes wrong, stop immediately. The baby's safety comes first. Jake held Lyrelith's hands as she closed her eyes and began to concentrate. Her glow got brighter and brighter until Jake had to squint to look at her. He felt her mind touch his, and suddenly he could sense the Zephyrian fleet approaching. 20 crystal ships full of alien thoughts, all focused on war and revenge. Help me find Threndal, Lyrelith's voice said in his mind. Jake didn't know how, but somehow he could feel the different minds on the ships. Most were angry and afraid. They had lost friends and family to human weapons. They wanted to hurt humans in return, but there was one mind that felt different, calmer, sadder. There, Jake thought back to Lyrelith. Her psychic voice reached out across space. Threndal, old friend. Please hear me. The calm mind in the fleet suddenly became alert. Lyrelith, is it really you? Yes. I am safe, but I need you to stop Kethmore from attacking. The humans have been holding you prisoner for months. We came to rescue you. No, Threndal. They saved my life. And something wonderful has happened. Jake felt Lyrelith sharing images and feelings with the distant Zephyrian, the moment when Jake found her in the crashed ship, his gentle hands cleaning her wounds, the discovery of the pregnancy, the baby growing inside her, part human and part Zephyrian. The response from Threndal was shock, then wonder. A hybrid child? How is this possible? Love, Threndal. Simple kindness and love. This human risked everything to help a stranger. Our child will be proof that our species can live together in peace. But another mind cut into their conversation. Angry and harsh. Contamination. Kethmore's psychic voice was like a shout. You have been poisoned by these animals. We will cleanse you and destroy their station. Kethmore, wait, Threndal tried to say. The time for talking is over. Attack formation, Lyrelith gasped and opened her eyes. Her glow was very dim now and she looked exhausted. I'm sorry, she whispered to Jake. I tried, but Kethmore won't listen. Jake helped her sit up. You did your best. Now we prepare to fight. But Dr. Gray was staring at his sensors with wide eyes. Wait, look at this. On his screen, the readings from the baby were changing rapidly. The psychic pathways were glowing brighter than ever before. What's happening? Jake asked. The baby is responding to its mother's distress. It's trying to help. Suddenly, Jake felt something incredible in his mind. It was like the baby was reaching out to him, sharing its power. He could sense not just the Zephyrian fleet, but every mind on Europa Station, too. Let me help, a small voice said in his head. Not Lyrelith's voice. The baby's. It's talking to us, Jake whispered. Lyrelith's eyes went wide. The baby wants to speak to both fleets itself. Before anyone could stop it, Jake felt the baby's consciousness expand outward. Its psychic voice reached every human and Zephyrian mind in the area. Please stop fighting, the baby said to everyone at once. I am not human or Zephyrian. I am both. I am what you could be together instead of enemies. On every ship, in every mind, the baby shared the same message. Images of humans and Zephyrians working together, building things instead of destroying. How's them? Exploring the galaxy as friends instead of fighting over it. The psychic communication lasted only a few seconds, but it changed everything. In the command center, Admiral Murphy stared at her screens. The Zephyrian fleet has stopped moving. All ships are holding position, Commander Wong reported. We're receiving a transmission from one of their vessels. High Counselor Threndall's face appeared on the main screen. He looked very old and very tired, but his silver eyes were kind. Admiral Murphy, he said in careful English. I am Threndall. I wish to discuss peace terms. General Hayes stepped forward. This could be a trick. But Lyrillith shook her head. Threndall does not lie. The baby showed him what could be possible. Jake looked at Lyrillith, then at Dr. Gray's sensors showing their healthy child. One unborn baby had just stopped a war. Think, Jake said quietly. Our kid is going to be very special. Lyrillith smiled and squeezed his hand. Yes. But first we must make. The peace talks had been going on for 3 days. Jake sat outside the conference room listening to the voices inside get louder and angrier. Lyrillith was in there with Admiral Murphy, High Counselor Threndall, and representatives from both species. Jake rubbed his tired eyes. Being the father of the most important baby in the galaxy was harder than fighting a war. Captain Steve Collins sat down next to him. Steve had been Jake's commanding officer before all this started. He was one of the few people who still treated Jake like a normal person. How's she doing? Steve asked, nodding toward the conference room. Tired. The baby is getting bigger, and all this stress isn't good for her. Jake could hear Lyrillith's musical voice trying to calm down an angry human general. They've been arguing about the same things for days. What kind of things? Whether the baby is safe, whether it's human enough or alien enough, whether other species will attack us if they think we're creating super beings. Jake stood up and paced. Everyone wants to decide our child's future except us. The conference room door opened. General Hayes came out, his face red with anger. He saw Jake and stopped. This is all your fault, he said. One stupid act of kindness, and now we're negotiating with the enemy. They're not the enemy anymore, Jake replied. Says who? You? You're just a corporal who got lucky. General Hayes stepped closer. That thing growing inside the alien might destroy humanity. We should have killed it months ago. Jake felt anger rise in his chest. That thing is my child. Your child is an abomination. Before Jake could respond, Captain Collins stepped between them. That's enough, General. Jake is still a soldier under my command. General Hayes glared at them both, then walked away. Don't listen to him, Steve said. Half the military thinks you're a hero, the other half just doesn't understand yet. The conference room door opened again. This time, Lyrillith came out. She looked exhausted and her glow was very dim. Jake went to her immediately. Are you okay? The baby is restless. I think it can sense the tension. She put her hand on her belly. Everyone in there is so afraid. Afraid of what? Of change. Humans are afraid the baby will be too alien. Zephyrians are afraid it will be too human. Both sides want to control what our child becomes. High Counselor Threndall emerged from the room. He was tall even for a Zephyrian, and his robes were deep blue like ocean water. When he saw Lyrillith, his expression softened. My queen, you should rest. These talks are not good for you or the child. I cannot rest while our people argue about my baby's right to exist, Lyrillith said firmly. The situation is complex, Threndall said. War leader Kethmore has supporters on Crystallis who believe the child is dangerous. They say mixing our species will weaken both. And what do you believe? Jake asked. Threndall was quiet for a moment. I believe that child spoke to both our fleets 3 days ago. It asked us to stop fighting. What being capable of such wisdom could be dangerous? Admiral Murphy came out of the conference room, followed by Commander Wang and Dr. Gray. "We have a problem," the Admiral said. "Our long-range sensors have detected ships approaching from 3 different directions." "More Zephyrians?" Jake asked. "No. Ships from the Altarian Empire, the Vegan Republic, and the Centauri Alliance. Every major species in this sector is sending fleets here." Dr. Gray looked worried. "Word about the baby has spread beyond our borders. Other aliens want to see this hybrid child for themselves." "Some of them might be hostile," Commander Wang added. "The Altarians in particular have always believed in keeping species separate." Threndal's glow dimmed. "This is what we feared. The child has become a symbol. Some will see it as hope for unity between species. Others will see it as a threat to the natural order." Jake felt overwhelmed. "So what do we do?" "We protect our child," Lyrelith said simply. "All of us together." But before anyone could respond, alarms started blaring throughout the station. A voice came over the speakers. "Battle stations. Enemy ships detected in Sector 7. Everyone rushed to the command center. On the main screen, Jake could see a fleet of dark red ships approaching fast. They were smaller than Zephyrian vessels but looked meaner, with sharp edges and weapon ports. "Altarian Attack Force," Commander Wang identified. 12 ships, heavily armed. "Why are they attacking?" Jake asked. Admiral Murphy was reading reports from her officers. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies. They say the hybrid child is an abomination that will contaminate all species. They've come to destroy it." Jake felt ice in his stomach. "They want to kill the baby." "They will have to go through us first," Threndal said. His calm voice had steel in it. "The human and Zephyrian fleets are taking defensive positions around the station," an officer reported. "But the Altarians have weapons we've never seen before." On screen, the red ships opened fire. Beams of purple energy shot toward Europa Station. The shields flickered and sparked under the attack. "Shield strength down to 60%, someone called out. Jake grabbed Admiral Murphy's arm. "We need to evacuate Lyrelith and the baby." "Where?" she asked. "The Altarians will follow, wherever we go." "Then we make our stand here," Jake said. But Lyrelith was staring at the screen with a strange expression. Her glow was getting brighter. "The baby wants to help again," she said quietly. "No," Jake said immediately. "It's too dangerous. Last time, nearly exhausted you. Last time the baby was smaller and weaker. Now it is stronger." Lyrelith looked at him with those silver eyes. "Jake, our child doesn't want to hide from the galaxy. It wants to show everyone what's possible." Dr. Gray was checking his sensors. "The baby's psychic readings are off the charts. It's responding to the threat." Another blast rocked the station. The lights flickered. "Shield strength down to 30%, an officer reported. Jake looked around the command center. Human and Zephyrian officers worked side by side, trying to defend the station. For the first time in years, the two species were truly cooperating. "What does the baby want to do?" he asked. "Talk to everyone," Lyrelith said. "Not just the Altarians. Every ship in this system. Every mind that can hear psychic communication." "That could be thousands of beings," Dr. Gray said. "Yes." Lyrelith's voice was calm but determined. "Our child wants to speak to them all." Jake thought about the choice. They could try to run and spend the rest of their lives hiding, or they could trust their unborn child to do something no one had ever done before. "Okay," he said, "but I'm staying with you. If anything goes wrong, we stop immediately." Lyrelith nodded. Together, they went to the same quiet room they had used before. This time, Dr. Gray brought more equipment to monitor both Lyrelith and the baby. Captain Collins and several guards stood ready outside. Jake took Lyrelith's hands as she closed her eyes. Her glow became so bright that the room filled with golden light. "I can feel it," she whispered. "The baby is reaching out." Jake felt the tiny consciousness expand from Lyrelith's mind, but this time it didn't stop with the nearby ships. The baby's psychic voice reached further and further. touching every intelligent mind in the entire star system. Humans, Zephyrians, Altarians, and the crews of ships from dozens of other species all heard the same message at once. I am not your enemy, the baby's voice said to all of them. I am proof that different kinds of life can become something new together. You fight because you are afraid of change. But change can be beautiful. The baby shared images with every mind it touched, pictures of planets where multiple species lived, in peace. Cities where humans worked alongside aliens to build wonderful things. Children of mixed heritage who were stronger and wiser than either parent species alone. This is what I offer, the baby continued. Not the end of your peoples, but the beginning of something greater. You can choose to kill me, but you cannot kill this idea. Love is stronger than fear. The psychic communication lasted for several minutes. When it ended, Lyraleth collapsed in her chair, breathing hard. Her glow was very dim. The baby? Jake asked urgently. Dr. Gray checked his sensors. Healthy and strong. But Lyraleth needs rest. They helped her back to the command center. On the main screen, something incredible was happening. The Altarian attack fleet had stopped firing. Their ships hung motionless in space. We're receiving transmissions from multiple sources, Commander Wang reported. The Altarian fleet commander wants to negotiate. The Vegan Republic ships are offering to provide medical assistance, and she paused, reading her screen in disbelief. And what? Admiral Murphy asked. Ships are arriving from all over the galaxy, dozens of them. Representatives, from species we've never even met before. Commander Wang looked up. They all want to see the baby, but not to hurt it, to celebrate it. Jake stared at the screen as more and more ships appeared. They came from every direction, ships of all shapes and sizes. Some looked like flowers, others like geometric crystals, still others like living creatures. How many? He asked. Over 200 ships so far, an officer reported. And more arriving every hour. Threndal stepped forward. Your child has done something impossible, Jake Mitchell. It has brought the galaxy together. Jake looked at Lyraleth. She was smiling despite her exhaustion. What happens now? He asked. Now we prepare for the most important birth in galactic history, Admiral Murphy said. And we hope that baby is as wise after it's born as it is now. Jake held Lyraleth's hand and watched the ships gathering outside. The labor pains started on a Tuesday morning. Jake was in the station's garden with Lyraleth when she suddenly gripped his arm. It's time, she said, her voice tight with pain. Jake's heart started racing. Are you sure? Another pain hit her. Stronger this time. Her glow flickered like a candle in the wind. Yes. The baby is ready to meet the galaxy. Dr. Gray had been preparing for this day for weeks. Within minutes, Lyraleth was in the medical bay, surrounded by the best human and Zephyrian doctors available. Ships from dozens of species waited outside the station, their crews hoping to witness the birth of the first hybrid child. Jake held Lyraleth's hand as the contractions got stronger. Sweat covered her glowing skin, and she squeezed his fingers, so hard he thought they might break. You're doing great, he whispered. Just breathe. Dr. Gray monitored everything on his screens. The baby's vital signs are strong, heart rate normal, psychic activity is incredible. Even through her pain, Lyraleth managed to smile. The baby is excited. It knows today is special. Outside the medical bay, Admiral Murphy paced in the hallway. Captain Collins stood with a group of human soldiers, while High Counselor Threndal waited with Zephyrian healers. Representatives from other species had been allowed to observe through video screens in the conference room. How long do Zephyrian births usually take? Admiral Murphy asked Threndal. For a normal birth, about 6 hours, but this is not normal. The old counselor's glow was warm with anticipation. This child will decide its own timing. In the medical bay, the labor continued for several hours. Jake never left Lyraleth's side, even when she accidentally sent psychic waves of pain into his mind. He could feel what she was feeling, and she could feel his love and support. I can see the head, Dr. Gray announced suddenly. One more push, Lyrillith. She bore down with all her strength, her glow flaring bright enough to light up the entire room. Jake felt a moment of incredible joy and hope fill his mind, not from Lyrillith, but from the baby itself. Then, with a sound like crystal bells ringing, the baby was born. Dr. Gray held up the small form and everyone in the room gasped. The baby was beautiful beyond words. Its skin had a soft golden glow like candlelight, and its eyes were large and dark like Jake's but with silver flecks like Lyrillith's. Tiny wisps of brown hair covered its head. "It's a boy," Dr. Gray said, his voice full of wonder. The baby opened his mouth and made his first cry. But this wasn't just a sound. It was a psychic call that every sensitive being in the star system could hear. The cry said many things at once. I am here. I am alive. I am hope. Jake felt tears running down his face as Dr. Gray placed the baby in his arms. The tiny boy looked up at him with those incredible eyes, and Jake felt a connection deeper than anything he had ever experienced. "Hello, Alex," Jake whispered. "Welcome to the galaxy." Lyrillith had chosen the name Alex because it meant defender in human languages. They had also given him the Zephyrian name Shalneth, which meant bridge builder. As Jake held his son, he felt the baby's mind touch his own. Not words, but feelings. Love, curiosity, joy, and something else. A sense of purpose that seemed far too mature for a newborn. "The readings are incredible," Dr. Gray said, staring at his instruments. "Alex's brain activity is unlike anything I've ever seen, and his psychic abilities are already stronger than most adult Zephyrians." Lyrillith reached out weakly, and Jake placed Alex in her arms. The moment mother and child touched, the baby's glow synchronized with hers. Golden and silver light pulsed together in perfect harmony. "He's perfect," she whispered. But their moment of peace was shattered by alarms blaring throughout the station. Admiral Murphy's voice came over the speakers. "Red alert. Hostile ships detected. All stations prepare for battle." Jake looked out the medical bay window and saw new ships approaching, sleek black vessels with no markings. They moved faster than any ships he had ever seen. Captain Collins burst into the medical bay. "We've got problems. Those are Shadow Fleet ships, mercenaries hired by someone who wants the baby dead." "How many?" Jake asked, still holding Alex close to his chest. 50 ships, maybe more. They're jamming our communications and moving too fast for our defenses." Dr. Gray was reading his sensors with growing alarm. Alex's psychic activity just spiked. He knows something is wrong. The baby looked up at Jake with those wise eyes, and Jake felt the little mind reaching out. But this time, Alex wasn't trying to communicate with the attackers. He was calling for help. Suddenly, every friendly ship in the system began moving toward Europa Station. Human vessels, Zephyrian crystal ships, Altarian cruisers, and dozens of alien designs Jake couldn't identify. They formed a protective sphere around the medical station. "Incredible," Admiral Murphy's voice came over the radio. "Every species out there is moving to protect the baby, even ones that were enemies an hour ago." The Shadow Fleet opened fire with weapons that cut through space like black lightning. Several defending ships were hit and exploded in brilliant flashes. Jake felt Alex's distress as the baby sensed violence and death nearby. The little boy began to cry, not just with his voice but with his mind. His psychic call for peace went out to every being in the battle. "Please stop," Alex's mental voice pleaded. "Don't hurt each other. Love is better than fighting." For a moment, some of the Shadow Fleet ships actually slowed down, their crews affected by the baby's innocent plea for peace. But their leader, a cold-minded human mercenary named Colonel Black, pushed his people to continue the attack. "It's just a baby using mind tricks," Black's voice came over the communications. "Kill it before it gets stronger." More ships exploded. Jake could see the battle through the medical bay window, and he felt helpless. His son was calling for peace, but some people would never listen. Then Lyrillith sat up in her bed, her eyes blazing with silver light. "No one threatens my child." Jake had never seen her angry before. Zephyrian queens had powers that came out only when their children were in danger. Lyrelith's glow became so bright that Jake had to shield his eyes. Her psychic voice reached every friendly ship in the battle. But instead of words, she shared tactical information: where the Shadow Fleet ships would move next, which weapons were most effective, how to coordinate attacks for maximum effect. Suddenly, the defending fleet fought, like one mind with hundreds of bodies. Human ships provided cover while Zephyrian vessels used their crystal weapons with perfect precision. Alien ships with unknown abilities struck at exactly the right moments. The Shadow Fleet, despite their superior speed and weapons, couldn't compete with such perfect coordination. One by one, their ships were disabled or destroyed. Colonel Black's command ship was the last one left. Surrounded by the Allied fleet, he made a final desperate attack run at Europa Station. Jake watched in horror as the black ship dove toward the medical bay, its weapons charging for one last shot. But baby Alex looked up at the approaching threat with those wise, dark eyes. For just a moment, Jake felt his son's mind touch the mercenary leader's thoughts. Alex showed Colonel Black a simple image: what the galaxy could be like if all the different species worked together instead of fighting. Cities of incredible beauty where humans and aliens lived as neighbors. Children like Alex, bridges between species growing up in peace. The image lasted only a second, but it was enough. Colonel Black's hand hesitated on the firing control. In that moment of hesitation, a Zephyrian ship disabled his engines with a precise crystal beam. The battle was over. Jake sank into a chair, exhausted. Alex had stopped crying and was looking around the medical bay with bright, curious eyes. "Is it over?" Jake asked. High Counselor Threndall entered the medical bay, his robe singed from helping in the battle. "The immediate threat is ended. But this is just the beginning." "Beginning of what?" "The new age your son represents." Threndall approached the baby carefully. "May I?" Jake looked at Lyrelith, who nodded. Jake placed Alex in the old counselor's arms. The baby looked up at the Zephyrian leader and made a soft cooing sound that somehow conveyed trust and affection. "Remarkable," Threndall whispered. "He sees not a human or a Zephyrian, but simply another person who cares about him." Admiral Murphy came into the medical bay, smiling despite the battle they had just fought. "The Allied fleet wants to escort you to a new colony world we've been preparing. It's designed for both human and Zephyrian habitation. A place where Alex can grow up safely," Captain Collins added. Jake looked at Lyrelith, who was tired but happy. "What do you think?" "I think our son will make his own choices about where he belongs," she said. "But for now, a safe place to learn and grow sounds perfect." Dr. Gray was still studying his readings. "Alex's development will be fascinating to observe. I predict he'll be walking and talking much earlier than normal children, and his psychic abilities will continue to grow." "Will he be happy?" Jake asked. It was the question that worried him most. Baby Alex looked up at his father and smiled. It was a simple human expression, but Jake felt waves of contentment and joy from the baby's mind. Alex would face challenges that no child before him had ever faced, but he would not face them alone. 6 months later, Jake sat on the porch of their new home on New Harmony, the colony world built for multiple species. Alex sat in his lap, babbling, in sounds that seemed to combine human speech with Zephyrian tonal patterns. He was already